Hello everyone, welcome to another one of our Facebook Live sessions. I'm happy to see you all. We look a little bit like Valentine's Day, but it's March. But I wanted to talk about knits today, and I wanted to talk about some of the differences in knits. And so when I was going through the fabrics yesterday, I thought, well, I'm kind of in a pink, red, fuchsia mood. And so I just put the wall together with some of those kinds of things. And then this morning, I woke up to my various feeds of Instagram and Facebook and texts and emails and all of that. And I got this email from, we think it's COS, C-O-S. Could be COS, could be COS, but it's a fashion brand that was established in London, and it's owned by H&M, which is a Swedish fast fashion company. And I think it's a brand that you should check out all the time. But today's grouping of fashion was all in pinks and reds, and I thought, I don't know, it must be in the water. Sometimes this happens to me. I'm thinking about a color, and it's everywhere. And then I come in here and Erin tells me that she's seeing a lot of pink and red combinations anyway. So an ode to spring and fashion and bright colors and happy colors, and that's what we're looking at today. But do check out the website of COS. And the reason I like it is it's not particularly expensive fabric, but they have great style. And in fact, I didn't know this, but COS does stand for Collection of Style. I never knew that until this morning when I actually Googled it. So now I can always remember it. But before we get into reds and pinks and knits and all of that, I do want to remind you that this is March with So Confident, and we are promoting the Crane Street t-shirt, also in a knit. So you can have access to the pattern, which is a digital pattern. You can sign up for the monthly class on how to make this great t-shirt, which has 3 sections to the back. The center portion we've done in a rib knit. The rest of it is in a cotton spandex knit. Has a really interesting 2-piece neck binding that overlaps at the shoulder seams. Short sleeves. So the video has all kinds of tips and techniques of working with this particular kind of fabric and taking you from start to finish on how to make this t-shirt. So sign up for that class if you want to by the month. If you are a yearly member, of course you already have it, and you still have a chance to sign up for a yearly membership in So Confident. You can always do that throughout the entire year. So, my topic today is based on knits, and I didn't know I loved to sew on knits until a few years ago. In the old days, when I would go to my thread source in my sewing room, I would have only cotton thread because I must have only sewn on wovens. Well, recently I realized that I have more polyester spools of thread in my sewing room than cotton now, so obviously I'm sewing more knits than I used to. But it's because of the comfort and durability and long-lasting fabrics that are knits. But it wasn't until I wrote this book, Sewing Knits from Fit to Fashion, that I realized how many knits there really are. Years and years ago, when I owned a fabric store called Threadwear, we had one knit. I remember it was red and it was an interlock and it was pretty, but that's all we had. And we weren't buying knits at all. And now, if you come into our store here, our studio here, half of our fabric inventory is knits and the rest is wovens, and we probably have even some knits over on the woven side. So the whole world of knits has exploded. Part of this book is a glossary of all the different kinds of knits that there are, and there are so many, hundreds really. And so I just wanted to review a few today and talk to you about the ones that are the most common that we're using for t-shirts, especially in tops. So let me first start by describing the difference between jersey and interlock. I know I sound like I'm repeating myself, but I think it's good to hear things over and over. I know that's how it sinks in for me. But jerseys are just like knitting and purling if you are a knitter. On the face side of the fabric, you see these vertical ribs. Some of them are so narrow and fine that you can't even really see them, but they're there. And then the back side is more like a horizontal loop. That is a jersey, and you always know that it's jersey because when you pull it on the cross grain, it will curl to the right side. Just remember that. And sometimes that curl is really problematic. Some curl more than others. Some curl into little pencil circumferences. Some barely curl at all. But if you are looking for the right side of a jersey fabric, excuse me, then you're looking for that curl to the right side. You're looking for the rib on the face side of the fabric. That is the most common knit used today in t-shirts and tops. Now, interlock does not curl, and that's how you know that it's an interlock. And it has a vertical rib on both sides. And so it's very difficult to tell the right from the wrong side. In fact, I'm not sure there is one. They look the same on both sides. So a good example of an interlock would be a double knit or a ponte knit, something like that, where there really is no difference between the right and wrong side. And interlocks tend to be a little bit easier to sew because they don't curl. But we want to sew what's out there on the racks that we are buying or not buying, and that means we want to sew with jersey. So we're going to talk about that. Now, just because we've separated knits into jerseys and interlocks, and there's even another category which I'm going to talk about in a minute, all of those come in different fibers. It can be cotton, wool, linen, rayon, polyester. So the jersey is just a category of construction, and then all of those are available in all kinds of fibers. So I'm going to actually start with that on the wall today, and then we're going to go into some techniques and so forth. So,
one person mentioned that the sound might be a little off. Make it scarf off. See if that helps.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's try that.
Oh, you're going to see my neck. Is that better? I hope that's better. If it's not better, I'm putting the scarf back on. All right. So I'm going to start down here at the bottom. I have two knits. By the way, we were checking the color again this morning, and these colors are pretty good but slightly off. This is a nice true lipstick red, and this is rayon of bamboo. This is a fuchsia pink, a really fantastic pure fuchsia pink, and this is rayon and spandex. Now, the difference is that because this is rayon of bamboo, this is very, very, very ultra soft. And while this is nice and soft, it is not as soft as the bamboo. So that is one of the characteristics that you get when you are buying something that's in bamboo, that extra level of softness. Rayon is a hybrid fiber. It is partially man-made and partially natural, and it's made using wood pulp of various types of trees. And so when you see rayon of bamboo, the wood pulp is of the bamboo. If you see something like viscose or just rayon, it's hard to know what kind of tree has actually been used. I didn't know this until I was recently at a wedding shower here in Topeka, and we have a DuPont plant here in Topeka, and I talked to the engineer in charge of viscose at the DuPont plant here in Topeka, and he told me that it's impossible to know what kind of wood pulp is going to be used in a fiber because they use all of them, whatever they can get their hands on. But it is wood pulp. So that's the difference between what seemingly is a very, very similar fabric. Super drape. This has a little more weight to it, sort of that weighty drape to it than this one does, but luxurious-wise, they're both in the same category. Viscose and spandex, rayon of bamboo, and spandex. This one's pure red, this one's more fuchsia. Then we have one up here that's cotton and spandex. So whenever you have spandex combined with anything, you're going to have better recovery. So this is 95% cotton, 5% spandex. But then you come over here for this pale pink, and this is 100% organic cotton. So it has a different drape and a different flavor altogether. This feels very much like something that's natural. It doesn't have that man-made addition to it. And I like the feel of this very much. This is a little bit softer than this one, but they're both quite soft. But without the spandex, this fabric won't have the recovery. So you would not use, I don't tend to use 100% cotton knits on the bottom. I tend to use those on the top because you're going to get some poking out at the knees or so forth, the seats of the pants and so forth. So I think that cotton knits tend to be for tops. I break the rules all the time, you know, but that's generally right. Now this is a jersey. This is a nice lipstick red as well. And this is made out of linen. So there's nothing different about this. It's still the same construction as a jersey, but now it's linen. And so it has more texture to it. And it's a little bit more sheer. That's just the nature of this particular fabric. We call this a gauze. I wouldn't necessarily, it's not really gauzy, but we call it gauze. I think we call it gauze because it is more sheer. Linen gauze. So just it has more texture, but it's linen. So it has kind of a grip to it. Then this is another pure red fabric, and it is very, very smooth and super drapey and super weighty. Now, when I say weighty, I don't mean thick. I just mean it has a drop to it. So you're always going to look a little slimmer in a fabric that has weight to it and draws down. So you're going to look a little skinnier in this than you are in this. So this is an ITY. And that is a specialty fabric that is still a knit. Generally, ITYs are in polyester. I've never seen an ITY that's not in polyester. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I've never seen one. And it has a twist to it. So the thing that's always mysterious to me is, if this fiber has a twist to it, why is it so smooth? Of all of the fabrics, this is the smoothest. And yet it has a twist to the yarn. So that's how you identify an ITY. Think bathing suits in terms of slickness. But of course, these are used all day long for wonderful t-shirts in ready-to-wear, so you don't have to wear them as water-type garments. So that's kind of an overview of the knit categories that I wanted to talk to you about. So we'll get back to some of the other fabrics in the meantime. So I have on the swing tee in a jersey knit, and I have lengthened the sleeves. The swing tee comes in the pattern with a fairly short sleeve. And we have a couple of tutorials that talk to you about how to lengthen the sleeve. And I just love this t-shirt. It's very fitted through the neck and the bust and shoulders. Slimish sleeve. And yet, you know, there's some swing and movement in the bottom of this, and I really like that look, and I like this profile. So we've done various things with this swing tee. So here's the swing tee. Whoops, losing it here. Here we go. So this is the, Erin, is this the original length of the sleeve? I think it is. Yes, this is the length of the sleeve in, yes, that's right. I pointed up here when I said short sleeve, but this is the length of the sleeve in the pattern. And so this is the normal, I'll call it, swing tee. Then we also have taught you how to make a V-neck in a couple of ways. This is the method where the binding is actually pinched on the inside. So it's a continuous binding and then pinched on the inside to form that little seam or little line of stitching that actually creates that V. So this is in a jersey knit, and you can see how drapey this is. And this is a cotton knit, and the drape is different. So just know that. And there's a little more of a stickiness to the cotton knit, meaning it's going to, if you don't have enough ease in a cotton knit, it's going to hang up on your clothes. So then we've done one that has a seam here and opens up into a slit. And you can either tie it or just leave it as a slit. We've added long sleeves. We've taken the neck binding and made it wider so that this is more of a funnel neck, but it's still the swing tee. I don't think that's a swing tee. And this is the swing tee as a dress. We've added that same seam, have a couple of pockets, a V-neck, and this time this is a crisscrossed neck binding. So all of these are in various tutorials that I'll talk about at the end. So that's the swing tee. It's the most versatile, I don't know about the most versatile t-shirt pattern that we have, but it's just one of our favorites. And one of the things about it that I like is it does not have an extended shoulder. It's right on the shoulder line, runs even a little bit narrow. So if you have narrow shoulders, you're going to be happy. You're probably not going to have to narrow the shoulder on this pattern much, if at all. So then another t-shirt type that we have is the Noto Tee. And instead of a set-in sleeve, this is a cut-on sleeve. So it's a totally different profile, and it's a little bit pegged. So instead of the swing out, which is what I have on, this comes in. So you do have to measure this on yourself and make sure that this is going to go around you. But for a nice summer short sleeve shirt or something to wear under a jacket, this is the perfect t-shirt. Now Erin made one, again with a V-neck, and she actually angled the side seams in a little bit so that she could do a different knit on the back, and that would show coming forward on the front. And you can make the Noto into a dress by lengthening it. And in this case, I put a seam down the front. I did an overlapping seam technique so that you have a little bit of a raw edge here. But you know, knits don't ravel, so that is a nice detail. This has a little deeper hem to it than most of our t-shirts, which I like. It's about a 2-inch hem. I think that's a nice, weighty treatment. Most t-shirts have a very narrow hem, and this one has a little more of a couture hem to it, I'll call it. But one of, let me point, I'm going to back up here a minute. Okay, let's go on to the Hudson. You know, the Hudson has been around for a while. It has both a top and pants in the pattern. So we're going to talk, and we talk about the pants all the time. As a matter of fact, the pants are the project for the February So Confident program. But now we're going to talk about the top, which I haven't talked about for a while, because it's so versatile. It's an oversized, boxy top, no question. Most people can go down a size or two and make a size smaller, or not. It depends on how much volume you want, how much ease you want, the kind of fabric you're using. If you're using a super drapey fabric like an ITY, then you can use a larger size. If you're using a cotton fabric that doesn't drape as much, maybe you come down a size or two so that you don't have so much width to the profile. So when you're making the Hudson, it normally has a cowl top and long sleeves. So this one is made in this fabric, all cotton, very tissue weight cotton knit. So I chose to do almost nothing to this. This is the simplest construction. I left the hem raw, didn't turn it under and hem it, and you can see that because it's a jersey, and this is on the horizontal, that it curls. So you have that nice little curl as your finish of both the sleeves and the bottom. The seams on this are just a simple 3-thread serge. You don't need much thread to hold this together. So just a 3-thread serge seam is all I did. But the most interesting feature of this is normally there's a seam in the center back. And normally that would be on the inside of the cowl. But I chose to put the seam on the outside, and I offset it so that when this folds back, you see a nice finish on the inside of the cowl, and that's what you actually see when it's on the body. So that is a super easy way to make a Hudson. Now you can leave the cowl off, and what you get is something like this. Now I widened the neck just a little bit, and I shortened the sleeve, and I tapered it. That's one thing I like to do on the Hudson top now. The sleeves on the pattern are not super wide, but they're wider than this. And I like to narrow them and shorten them and get more of a 3/4 length. And I've done a contrasting stripe. So this is a really comfortable jersey top to wear. Here's one where I've left the cowl off, and then I've just cut up the front. Now, I think it's interesting that we're talking about crane streets today, which is a detail that we've done on the back, which is more of a blouson rounded profile, which is not this. This is just simply straight lines across, and I separated my pattern and then put these pieces back together using a flat lock. Now, I did that so that I could cut these stripes in various diagonals just to create some interest. Put a deeper hem in it, shortened the sleeve, even did a flat lock seam on the sleeves. So when you look at the pattern illustration, you see this big cowl and long sleeves, and you think, oh, that's for winter. Well, not really. You think about the lightweight knits, sheer knits. It's perfect. So the Hudson, to me, is all about what fabrics you choose. So here's one where we've added a band at the bottom that's a little bit smaller than the circumference of the shirt, and the sleeves are woven. So this is a knit, this is a jersey knit, this is a cotton woven with a little bit of elastic at the wrist, and it changes it completely. You wouldn't even know this is the Hudson. Sometimes we make bands wider, narrower, sometimes we stitch them, sometimes not. Those are all variations that you can decide to do when you're working with your particular kind of fabric. So the point is you can have one pattern, and right here we have 3 or 4 or 5 different variations of it with just one pattern, and nobody's going to know that those are the same pattern. So I just came back from North Carolina, teaching at Mulberry Silks in Carrboro, North Carolina. And I saw my friend Nancy, who always brings in these fabulous garments. And she reminded me that I had made this, which is the Hudson top. And she brought one in because she'd made one too. So this is the Hudson without a cowl neck on it, and no sleeve, and the side seam has not been sewn. And so you put this on and you decide where you want to put a little bar tack to create an armhole. And so this is a fantastic little piece to travel with. So you throw this over a t-shirt and wear it to dinner. You could make, I have something glittery underneath, which is not necessarily, of course, necessary. Put this over a white t-shirt, a red t-shirt, a blue t-shirt, or whatever, and you can go anywhere and feel a little bit more put together or a little bit more dressed up if you need to, without adding bulk in your suitcase or bulk in your life. Now, because there's no cowl on this has been finished now with good old seam tape, cotton seam tape out of the package. And it makes a nice, nice finish, and you don't have to worry about making bias or turning those edges or figuring out what to do with this lace. So, the other lace piece that I have here is this, stretch lace. So this is the swing tee, the same pattern that I have on, totally different fabrication, of course, stretch lace, long sleeve, but the front and the back are 2 different lengths by quite a bit, 4 or 5 inches. This is a tutorial from So Confident a couple of years ago, and wearing it over a mix-it top in a rayon crepe or a poly crepe. I can't remember. I think it's poly crepe. And so that makes a nice piece as well. All right, let's talk about some techniques for sewing these jerseys and even the laces and open work fabrics. I know I sound like a broken record on some of these, but these are the tools that I use all of the time for so many things, and it's what I've sort of boiled everything down to so that I don't have to really think about it too much anymore. But it's polyester thread on knit fabrics, period. Cotton thread on everything else. I don't use 80 needles anymore. I rarely use them unless I'm kind of desperate. So I've dialed down the size of my needles to either a 70 or 75. 70 is really the one I use. I just think my stitch looks a little bit better. I use universal needles, but on knits you can use jerseys, you can use stretch needles, microtex needles, whatever your machine likes. My machine is fine with universal needles. I have a machine that will engage an even feed feature, but I have a different machine here at the office where I have to install a walking foot, and that makes all the difference in the world. All of a sudden I can sew on the cross grain and I don't get those blips and buckles. Fusee web is our #1 notion. We get it from Japan. It's a paper covered line of glue. And when you press this down on the edge of a hem and remove the paper, you're left with this little tacky line of glue. You glue your hems in place. You use your walking foot, stitch it, flat and perfect. They stay in place, no buckling. They're fantastic. I've purchased a 5.5 millimeter throat plate for my machine because it comes with a 9 millimeter throat plate because it also embroiders. I also own a single hole throat plate, so I go back and forth here. If I'm sewing on a very, very lightweight tissue weight fabric, it's going to get sucked down into the throat plate, and these two items right here prevent that. And my fabric feeds better through the sewing machine. Sometimes when I'm starting on an edge and it wants to get kind of wadded up again in that throat plate, I'll put a piece of tissue paper, something left over from my pattern, or some medical exam paper, or whatever I have on hand. Somebody the other day said they use leftover Christmas tissue wrap. That would be fine too. I might want to put a little paper underneath the start of that just to get it going, and it helps a lot. Now, one thing that I every once in a while need to do, and I don't talk about very often, is on my machine there's a little knob on the top, and it has to do with the presser foot pressure. That's a knob that I can loosen or tighten, and it helps feed the fabric through the machine. So if your fabric is not getting through easily, then loosen that a little bit, and it'll help a lot. So it might be a setting on your screen. If you're real computerized, it might be a knob. Hard telling where it is on your machine, but you can definitely change that, I think, on all machines. So the 3 seam finishes that I use, if I'm using or making a pretty standard t-shirt in a medium weight jersey knit, I'm going to use this common seam finish, which is sewing it and then serging the 2 edges together using a 3-thread stitch. But when I'm using tissue weight or more sheer things, laces and tissue weight cotton knits, then this is just my 3-thread seam. That's it. This is a 4-thread seam. I rarely use it. I tend to go this direction first because I want to be able to sew accurately on the seam allowance. But there's nothing wrong with using a 4-thread. That's a sturdier seam. If you're making something that's tighter fitting than this, you might want to go 4-thread just for the stability of that 4th thread. If you're making athletic wear, you for sure want to have a more stable seam. If you're wanting just a quick t-shirt, you don't want to get into all this, use a 4th thread. But this is my go-to, this is my 2nd, this is my 3rd. All right, we have any questions? Oh, I need to talk about a couple other things. Forgot about the laces. All right, so this is the lace that is on the dress form. And this is a polyester blend, or excuse me, it's nylon and spandex. Has a nice rose motif to it. I brought this out because this is a knit. And notice that this does not curl. So this is going to be an interlock. But it has a glaze of a metallic on it. And I thought that'd be pretty under some of these laces. Or just as a great simple t-shirt to wear under a great black jacket or whatever. This is an interesting stretch lace. Very stretchy. It's both navy and black. And it is in a stripe, but I love the color combination of the blue and black. In fact, last week I was wearing a black jacket and I put a blue t-shirt under it. It's just a combination you don't think of very often, but it's a great combo. And then we have, I think, like one piece of this left perhaps, but this would make a great little Hudson shrug, we'll call it. Just an easy, this is navy blue, just an easy little piece over another fabric that is either a color or the same color, and make yourself a great Hudson shrug. Okay, now I'm ready for questions. Oh, wait, no, I'm not. Got one more. We have a great lace in red. Forgot about this one. I love this. So, okay.
Okay, what are you said you were wearing the swing top. But
I am. I'm wearing the helix pants and the swing tee. On.
They did say the sound was better without the
It was better? Okay.
But they loved the scarf.
Yeah, it's a great looking scarf.
Okay. They would like to see the Hudson without the sequin top underneath it.
Okay. Let's see. Let's get this off of the hanger. So this is literally a front and a back. Oh, that's an interesting shape. A front and back, no cowl neck, no binding, no sleeves. So here it is. It's not a pure rectangle, but it's close to two rectangles. And then you have the opening for the arm, and then the side slit. So, I don't know, maybe I should put it on what I have on. Think it'd look good?
No, I think so.
See if I've got the front and back going here. Yep. All right. How's that look?
I think that looks nice.
Okay.
Would you do a little spin?
Spin.
Oh, it's hanging up in the back, but
Is it? All right. Oh, it is hanging up in the back. Yeah, okay, here we go.
it's nice with the long sleeves too.
Yeah.
I think that's nice. Okay, what is the inspiration for the Crane Street tee?
The inspiration for the Crane Street tee, I saw the back done like this in a Lululemon shop. And I don't remember where I saw the neck binding, but it was on a piece of ready-to-wear someplace I saw in a store. Just something different. We've done so many t-shirts with our standard ready-to-wear binding that I thought it would be fun to do something different. So those of you who are So Confident members, we're having our question and answer session this Friday, and I'm going to give you a new and extra tip on how to nail those corners up here.
How do you store your knit tops? Do you hang or fold?
I hang my knit tops on, I use these kinds of hangers, these black, well, it can be any color, but these kind of flocked, felted hangers, and I don't fold them.
What is a flat lock seam?
A flat lock seam is where two pieces of fabric well, first of all, you start with them, I hope I'm saying this right sides together. It's possible it's wrong sides together, but I think it's right sides together. And I'm on my serger, and I've loosened all of the tensions. Now, this is according to my particular guidebook. I go through and set all the settings according to what it says a flat lock should be. Once loosely serged that, then I unfold the two pieces, open them up, the fabrics are butted together, and it's held together with connecting threads. So it's decorative, and it's flat.
Which knit would you use on a narrow pant like the Helix?
Well, I use Ponte knits for my Helix pants. I don't think there's any of these knits that I would use for Helix pants. So a lightweight or mid-weight Ponte knit is my preference for Helix pants.
Are the instructions for making a V-neck included in the swing tee pattern, or is there a separate instruction booklet for that?
There are separate instructions for that, and that is in, I don't know, Betsy may have to say this. I think it's Series 7, third quarter. It's either first quarter or third quarter, the V-neck. I can't remember. But it's in one of those, Series 7, So Confident. A separate tutorial, which is going to be on sale this week.
And there's two different ones, because there's the V-neck from the t-shirt.
Yes, there are two different necks. It may be in both. Actually, Series 1 may have the standard V-neck, and third quarter may have the one that's on the dress, which is the overlapping. That's probably what it is.
Sorry, just saw a question, then disappeared. You never mentioned a stretch seam. I use them all the time, or I would have seams popping. I use a very narrow wobble stitch, 0.5 zigzag or lightning stitch. Do you use them, and why? I never use the lightning stitch. It's too hard of a seam and very, very difficult to rip out. And it shows, if you're using a very refined knit such as these, and you're looking at the seam, you'll see the little impressions of the needle, the dots, the threads. So I always use a straight stitch, and I use polyester thread, which has a little give to it. Do you press seams open or serge them together after you stitch the seam?
I serge the seams together, so the two raw edges are together. Using a 3-thread stitch formation, the seam is pressed one direction then. The only seams I tend to press open on a knit would be a Ponte on pants for less bulk.
Eileen Fisher uses a fabric called Stretch Crepe.
Yes.
Do you carry this?
No, I wish I could find that fabric. I know exactly what you're talking about. I haven't seen that fabric to purchase, or believe me, I'd be all over it.
Can you explain the benefits of the So Confident program?
The So Confident program has, I think, several benefits. One being that it's a motivator to sew by the month. This year we're sewing a wardrobe, so there's a connection to the patterns that we're producing and putting together with not only style but colorways as well. The videos are chock full of extra information about how to make something, those little tips and tricks that help you sew more professionally. We have the question and answer series where you really get to talk to me and other people about what's going on, problem solving. We have a Facebook group with it, and it's fun to see the fabrications that people are making these garments. I think for me, for most people, I think it's a motivator to just, what do I want to sew? You want to sew, but you can't think of what to sew. You have this fabric, you don't know what to do. You don't have the right fabric. We have kits that go with it, so we know that the kits work for that garment. We've tested it. We're recommending that fabric. So to me, there's a lot of benefits to it.
Which of these jerseys would you combine with the linen knit for the Helix top?
What was the first part of that question? I'm sorry.
Which of these jerseys, so the ones on the wall, would you combine with the linen knit for the helix top?
I think these are a good combo. This bamboo of rayon, if you're wanting the same color, which is nice.
You want to read off maybe the number of the
Sure.
bamboo and the linen, and then so we can get the exact fabrics.
So the product number of the bamboo is 21-521-1, and the linen knit is 21-620-4. Now, I don't know, you could probably go to the fuchsia or the pink in it if you want to contrast it.
Oh, that would be fun.
Now, let me tell you something about the helix. The helix requires 2 yards of fabric when you're making it all in one color. If you're breaking that up and making it in 2 different fabrics or 2 different colors, you need 2 yards and 2 yards, 4 yards.
Okay, what is Telio? I often see it in knits.
Telio is a brand of fabric. They sell everything. Knits, wovens, sweater knits, everything. They're just a brand.
This is a question from Jill Hall. She says, Erin, how do you think the crane tee would look if you use the rib from the back also on the sleeves? I think we probably have the same answer, but fantastic.
Yeah, I think rib sleeves on the crane street would be wonderful. The whole t-shirt would be great in rib, but for sure the sleeves, or make, I've had 2 people call and say they've miscut the pieces. They cut the rib for the top and not in this middle. It's fine. You can put that rib anywhere you want to.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of great comments about So Confident.
Good.
How much they love it. What is the cost of the So Confident program?
For the year, it's $425. By the month, it is
Well, we have the per class price, $49.99.
$49.99 per class.
Right.
If you sign up for a March class, it's $49.99. Obviously, and if you sign up now for the year, you get it back from January.
If you have some extra fluff, are their knits less likely to cling?
Fluff, yeah, we all know about that. Yes, these ITYs don't cling. The rayon of bamboos don't cling. I don't think rayon jerseys particularly cling either. But some of the cotton knits cling a little bit more, and definitely the ones without spandex cling a little bit more.
So the metallic, is it a copper sheen?
Yes, this is a copper. Bronze, we're calling it. It's more of a golden on black. We do have a silver one also that will be on sale as well. All of the fabrics, every single color of our solid knit, it will be on sale for the next week. I'm just showing you varieties here, and I happen to choose this color palette. But every color from blue, green, yellow, to black, to red will be on sale.
Are there instructions for making the overlay lace piece that Linda has on right now?
No.
This video.
Yeah.
And I prefer interlock. Do you carry them?
Yeah, a few. We don't see very many of them, but we have a few.
Oh, Betsy wanted to point out, so it's all solid knits, but not ponte or rib knits.
That's true. All solid jersey knits. Well, yeah.
Like,
All solid jersey t-shirt weight knits. Not sweater knits, not ponte knits, not printed knits.
do you have the linen knit in other colors?
No, currently we don't. This is the only one we have. It's time for us to think about that because of spring and summer coming, but currently we only have this one piece.
I didn't even know we had any of it anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Until
I
saw
found
that.
this. Yeah.
How is the overlay Linda is wearing hemmed, and how are the seams finished?
I serged the edge of the lace and turned it under and stitched it. Same way on these edges. So the shoulder seams, I don't know what I did. What did I
Do you
do?
want me to look?
I think I just 3-thread serged it.
Yes.
Yeah, 3-thread serge seams and turned and stitched hems. And now I can't put this back on. Am I together
have
again?
to-
Sort of, kind of.
Yes, but I can't. The back you might be hitched up again, but it's hard to tell because it's hanging up on your
Yeah.
shoulder a little bit.
You do have to leave the house having looked in the mirror when you put this on, apparently. There you go.
It does look really nice with the, the shape
Does it work?
of the neck.
Yeah.
And, What yardage is needed for the Hudson shrug overlay?
Whatever this length is, which is probably, less than a yard, but for sure a yard would do it.
I would think just because of the width.
Yeah.
I think you would need to have it.
Yeah.
I don't see any other questions.
All right. Well, we have a lot on sale this week, actually. So the patterns that are on sale are the Hudson top and pants print, the Swing Tee, which is digital, and the Noto, which is digital. But then we have 6 tutorials. Sewing fashion knits, make a tissue Hudson top. That takes you through how to make this. Sewing crinkles, gauzes, and lace. Series 9, second quarter. All of a sudden I can't remember which one that pertains to. And Series 7, first quarter and third quarter. And then sewing open work fabrics. Now here's the deal. Listen up. Because this is such a huge category of sale, all the solid jersey knits, you're going to have to remember to put the code in, which we don't make you do very often. But you have to put this code in to get this discount of 20% on these fabrics. So here's your code. Capital T, capital E, 22. If you don't put this in, you don't get the discount
On the solid.
on the solids.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and Betsy said, let me read the entire message here just to make sure. The specialty knits are shown on this week's sale collection page. The jersey knits are marked down with the code. And she included a link to that category. So make sure you guys check that out. And see if she sent me any other messages. We did have one more question, if you want to take
Sure.
that. She said, when you say 3-thread serge, do you mean you put the seams together with the serger? Probably when you were talking about this shoulder
Yes,
seam.
this seam is a 3-thread serge seam. But I also use 3-thread to finish seams. So for instance, this seam has been sewn on a sewing machine and then 3-thread serge to finish it. The seam that I have on this top is simply a 3-thread seam.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. We're back for another week next week. Spring is coming. We'll see you then.